Welcome to Offsite Dirt. We are covering high performance build. My name is Wille, and I'm joined by my good buddy, Shaun Amour.
Hey everyone, glad to be here as we're going to take a deeper dive into what it takes to build a high performance project. And the last time we were with us, we were talking about ice cubes. That's where our IceBox challenge. We're going to do part 2 of what's transpired in history from what we first discussed. We started off, we were talking about how it started in Brussels. Then it became another event in Vienna where some individuals from Vancouver, Canada got inspired and said, hey, we want to bring that home. And so now what happened was the event happened in Vancouver. If you didn't see the outcome, you have to go back and watch before you can carry on. So we're going to stop for a second and let you go back. And now you've stopped and you've carried on with us again. So what happened is we sold the IceBox challenge from Vancouver to our friends down in the US for a loonie, and off it went. We put on a truck, went down to Seattle, and I'm going to just let Mark do a bit of an intro as I pull up some slides and we can show you what occurred from Vancouver to Seattle.
So the neat thing is now that you're all versed in IceBox challenge, you realize that code every year changes. Sometimes that's every 3 years. That all depends on your town, your province, your state, your municipality, your country. However, Passive House doesn't change. It says, this is our goal, and you either pass or you fail, and you don't fail with a PH. It's the one time you don't fail with a PH. So Seattle, we've got a good friend in Seattle. And I think maybe in some of these pictures, you might be seeing Shaun Amour, and maybe some other friends of ours with a PH.
So I liked about this project because, we did the first one, and life is about continuous improvement. You tweak things, you modify things to make it better. And if you saw in part 1, you saw that the Brussels had horizontal windows to ensure that you had big kids and small kids could view the ice. Well, we kind of learned that the one window wasn't so good. So we added another window, and here you go. You get an idea of like the smaller version and the bigger version. Well, the difference in size is the fact that the Passive House IceBox challenge is wrapped with lots of insulation. It's got its continuous air barrier. And in this case, we definitely went with the belts and suspenders approach where we have 2 continuous air barriers because the vapor control layer that's on the inside, we're climate zone 4 here. So we designed it for that particular climate zone. And so we've got the interior side as the vapor control layer. It's taped, air sealed, also acting as the air barrier. We then have another gift wrapping on the outside. You can see 2 amazing high performance windows, and that sweater gets rid of the thermal bridges. So we're testing 4 of the 5 Passive principles. The 5th one is adding a fresh air machine, which is a heat recover ventilator. So here we go. We're in this nice area of Seattle, and the test begins. And 14 days later, we had, a potentially similar outcome. What do you think? What do you think, Mark?
I think I love the fact that you pointed out that the interior is the same size. The exterior is altered because in order to qualify as a Passive House, an extra layer of insulation was needed. So a greater resistance of heat to cold. So this is day 1. This is day one in the state of Washington, the fine state of Washington. So you have Celsius and Fahrenheit. So wherever you're at, you know what that looks like. You can gain familiar. And wow, look at that. Look at that.
So what I liked about just that the last slide about temperature was when we started, the IceBox already was keeping it cool, right? So we talk about resiliency. That sweater also helps out with where temperature differentiates between the space. And here's the outcome where, again, you've got the 2 organizers. They did such an amazing job of putting this whole thing together. I think like this is an area where the soccer fans start before they go to the game. I think a couple of them must have like kicked the box because the one there on the left I mean, the ice moved. I don't know how the ice can move, but at least the idea here is that how skinny the code box ice is compared to the IceBox ice. I mean, look how, like, I mean, I just want to grab a drink and grab that ice. It just works so nice to fit it in there. It's just,
It could have melted that unique way, Shaun, because of the curvature of the earth right
yeah.
there. Uh, but the important thing is that framework that's noted there. Looks like with PVC pipes.
Yeah,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the guide of what the ice was initially, so that you can really, besides comparing passive to code, you're also comparing initial to final. I
exactly.
think that is, I've not seen that done in other places, and that is really a significant visual.
So yeah, so when you look at the one, the other, again, the shape, how in the ice box, the ice melts in the right formation, because again, the temperature is so consistent in the box. And of course, when what do you can't just throw away stuff, right? You got to give it to your friends. In this particular one, we had the local friend needed a drink on a summer hot day. So again, great involvement from the Pacific Northwest community. Appreciate everything they did to make that work. It was a lot of excitement that happened in the neighborhood. And then same year, I mean, there's a lot of challenges that occurred in that year. We're now down in Oakland, different type of boxes. But again, this is a bit more ready for that particular climate in California. This particular icebox traveled from Oakland and LA and had a couple over the years. But then all of a sudden, that original one that was in Seattle, it stayed in Portland over the summer or over the winter time, and then we put it across the US, and here it is in New York. And like New Yorkers, you can't just bring one little thing to it, right? So what do? Pimp my passive house. That's what they did. The Brussels community there in New York, we got the consulate out involved. They knew a spray paint artist, and of course, anything happens in Brooklyn, that's what occurred. And the ice boxes, or sorry, the boxes, both the code and the icebox got a nice paint job.
A little East Coast flavor with a
So
PH.
so this was really exciting because these two sat in this neighborhood for 2 weeks. This neighborhood, folks, was Times Square. So 250,000 people walked past this and took a little bit of knowledge and got to see, a really cool experiment. So here's the outcome again. Again, we're seeing something consistent here, Mark. We're seeing that crown, the belt around the waist, not being transferred from one competitor to another. The Icebox Challenge victorious again to the Passive House Icebox.
For the Passive House warriors out there, congratulations for winning in New York. I'm almost ready to go to a trophy shop and get some brass tags made so we can just call out all these cities, state, provinces. Love it, Shaun.
Yeah, and so again, it went from Vancouver to Seattle to New York, and then quickly it just went to Philadelphia. It then again.
Wait a minute, back up to Philadelphia. Who's that?
So this is CJ. Me and CJ lifted a lot of ice, and this is one of those crazy trips. Literally, I wrapped up the event in New York, grabbed a train, slept on the train to Philly. Next morning, we're doing this whole thing again. Another 2 weeks happened, and guess what? Is again great marketing, great information that was involved by that community. Here's on display here in the Navy base in Philadelphia. It's great to just travel. We have such beautiful cities across North America, amazing, friendly individuals. It was so great to just meet all these people. Again, we're adding technology. We saw thermal imaging cameras and other ones. Here now we've got some more detailed measurements of temperature in the boxes. So you're going to see the blue line is the Icebox Challenge. The red line is the code one. The temperature is the gray. So you can see how resilient one box is from the other. Getting pretty nerdy there. And of course, again, look at that. The code box actually was the first one where all the ice melted 2 days prior to the end of the competition. Passive House is a winner. We go from Philly. We go to capital of the United States, Washington, D.C. Put it literally 2 blocks away from the White House. Again, people get an opportunity to see what's going on. And there you go. Right?
Look at that.
Let's
That is so unique what happens, right? So when we look at the comparison of the ice, we call it unique, we call it different, we call it whatever. And the exact opposite happens when we review a house that doesn't have the measures of passive house. We don't say it's unique or different. We say, uh-oh,
yeah.
what's going on there, right? So like it ice is giving us a good vantage point, a good data point to compare it to. Um, Also the clarity of these two. So they came in the same place at the same time, right? And the clarity has changed like amazing. Wow. And so now Pittsburgh changes the color, or is that that's the
Nope.
same as New York.
Same
Okay.
same boxes again. Maybe some extra lights, but again, this was a year later. So we were at one Pasos Northwest Conference. We're at the next one. Here we go from Oakland to Pittsburgh, and again, same results. Mark, something's trending. Here we go. Passive House box wins again. I think at this time, in the span of a year, we had about 7 different challenges around the world. 7 times, 7-0. Passive House is the winner. The crown stayed on the champion, and that's how it's going to be.
So we've seen a whole bunch pop on here in going from British Columbia, and thank you. Of course, Shaun has the map right there. So Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Pittsburgh, and then, of course, simultaneously, France, our friends in New Zealand, uh, uh, Auckland, right?
Yeah, Oakland.
And Australia. So
I'll just
pretty
show you
incredible.
yeah, show you some of the highlights so people can see the different box styles.
Perfect.
Again, keeping it simple, but again, every result. And I love this one. This is the one we come back to BCIT where I can take this same challenge, I can bring it to your school. So not only can we bring it to your city and showcase your community, but if you can't do the full scale, we can do little ones where we can get to any age of education. We can do the same event in school. So we can do big macro icebox challenge, or we can do micro ones. And here we are. I took it this my little mini houses to the local school and teach the students about how again putting on those systems, put on your continuous air barrier, put on your insulation that minimizes your thermal bridging if you're using outsulation, add in the amazing windows, and then put all together. So yeah, we miss out on the fresh air machine, but we look at 4 of the 5 and it tells a great story.
The reduction of thermal bridging, that air control, that vapor control, and then that continuity that happens in the connection between the window to wall. Now they're still doing all this in the code. I don't want you to think that they're not, but they're following the code as it is today. And that's the example of the difference. Scotland is, I love this one. I love this one because someone is attracted to this one, Shaun, and then they get the added bonus of learning. But like, come on, like visually, you and I are wood enthusiasts. Like this is the tiny homes of tiny homes.
Yeah, I mean, this was great because what occurred here is they did this exact experiment in Scotland, and then a few days later, they did another one in Chile. So they had 2 simultaneous events happening in 2 different parts of the world, and they had the media involved. And so, literally, when you open up the boxes in both parts of the world, again, champion was declared to the Passive House Icebox.
It was really exciting when Chile happened because thanks to your connections, we were able to be included in that incredible reveal and just watching everyone. I have to commend all of these groups that brought it forward and the cities, states, municipalities for allowing these incredible locations for this to happen, right?
Oh,
Because
Times
it's
Square, right? Like, I mean, it was amazing just where these got to go. Times
right.
Square, 2 blocks from the White House. All these community spaces where you could have so many people travel by. They get their coffee, they go and have a look to see, okay, what's going on in the Icebox today? Oh, we're gonna see who's gonna be a winner in a few days. Really excited.
Yeah, and you can't sit back in your chair and say, "Well, no, we're in my town as a pacifier, so this kind of, we're not going to do this here." And let's say Columbia, Missouri, or something nonsense, right? Places like Columbia, Missouri, Kansas, right, that are doing these incredible projects. So it's up to each of you to say, "Hey, our community, we raise our hands. Our community, we break out our high performance materials. Our community, we educate and we collaborate to deliver the Icebox Challenge."
Yep. No, really exciting. And again, when I first got into Passive House, we started to understand about how to use the language. And Richard was really exciting because he started to talk about the experience and how we had to kind of get away from just the energy efficiency savings that a Passive House provides, but what were some of those other amazing things? And so comfort, air quality, sound, daylighting, simplicity, and beauty. Like our boxes that we're making, and again, our good friend Bronwyn's tagline, boxy but beautiful. We can make boxes and then add all the jewelry on the outside, so we're not losing that architectural flair. The pride of the craft that we love doing. It all still gets to stay there. However, our buildings get the 5 Passos principles, and then we're able to measure them and ensure we hit the metrics that we need to, and then everyone gets to enjoy experiencing a Passive House.
I I think it's a great experience. It's like good chicken on a nice summer day. And I tell you, I want to see, Shaun, I want to see someone bring forward balanced ventilation, right? Fresh air machines. It would be that's the nice thing about this community is you can take a great idea and you can say, well, this is how I want to do it. And we have more on this topic. So you just saw part two. Shaun, you want to
Well,
tell them
well,
a little bit about what's coming up
Get
next?
get your ice ready, Fox. We're doing it again. So there's 2 competitions happening in 2023. The first one is days away, where back in New York City, the students are putting on a nice box challenge. Like, I mean, how amazing is it that not only are the community is embracing it, but our community is teaching the next leaders, the next set of individuals that are going to carry and work towards, fighting against climate change and the climate crisis. So there we are. Brooklyn, New York City, student-led Icebox Challenge is going to be starting pretty soon. So we'll put a link in so you can check it all out, and you can then figure out who is going to take the belt. But as you can see, I think you know who's going to be victorious.
So if you want to do this in your community, whether you're a professional, whether you're an architect looking for a contractor, whether you're an offsite factory looking to do passive house, whether you're a student, there's Shaun. Here I am. And Shaun mentioned New York. You know where else it's coming? It's coming to Colorado. So it's really amazing. Passive house events have been going on in Europe and in different parts of the US for a while. But now Colorado's getting a taste of it. So Shaun and I know a little bit about that one. And guess what? We're going to cover it right here on High Performance Build. Take us out, Shaun.
All right, well, thank you for joining us on Offsite Dirt. Really appreciate you coming and listening to our story. Hope you enjoyed another episode where, in this case, we dove into part 2 of Icebox Challenge. So everyone, take care. See you soon.